In the meantime, let's get you caught up on our other top stories. Number one, 4 more bodies have been pulled from the rubble of the collapsed condo tower, raising the death toll there to 16 people. Miami-Dade investigators say in addition to those 4 bodies, crews also found other human remains. Florida officials have requested an additional search and rescue team to help look for survivors. Number 2, President Biden unveils a plan to combat wildfires in western states, and it includes a pay raise for firefighters. Biden meeting with western governors, talking to them today about how the country can prepare for an expected severe wildfire season. The president is also calling on Congress to include money to combat climate change in the upcoming budget bill. And number 3, good news. More stimulus checks are arriving in bank accounts nationwide. The IRS issued another $2.3 million in checks this month. Some payments include an increase for people who received less money than they were entitled to in earlier distributions. This round, payments are also going to people the IRS previously didn't have enough information for. And number 4, renters fearing eviction because of the pandemic have one more month. The Supreme Court voted 5-4 to uphold the CDC's eviction moratorium until its expiration date on July 31st. The moratorium prevents landlords from evicting tenants who aren't paying rent because of the coronavirus pandemic. The Biden administration does not expect another extension.